Good morning, everybody. What we're going to cover today is the buyer presentation. A lot has changed about buyer commissions. If you're not aware, there's been some lawsuits, and essentially what they're saying is that the seller does not have to pay the whole commission and share it. Now, probably 80%, 90% of the time, you're not going to see any change, but then there's going to be some times where you do have change. Regardless, it is up to you to meet with your buyers, consult with your buyers, and earn their business and get a buyer brokerage signed before showing properties. If you are on our team and watching this, then you may also be aware that Henry is cracking down that if your buyer brokerage is signed after your offer has been written, your money cannot be distributed the day of closing. So you are hitting a delay. He's really cracking down on agreements, the times that they are signed. You are supposed to be getting them signed ahead of time. So with that being said, AJ and I are going to teach you today how we do a buyer presentation. And I'm going to talk you through a couple of things that I believe are important. And I hope that you have pen and paper, that you're writing this down. I am recording this with the goal that it actually gets uploaded into our systems. But if it doesn't, for technology reasons, I hope you take a lot out of today. So AJ made a good point this morning that a lot of times we need to understand why we're holding a buyer consult. So AJ, you want to start with that? Like, why do you think we hold a buyer consult?
I mean, it's multifaceted, but I do think it's like a mentality thing too. It's like you want to bring somebody in and make them be your client, and you want them to want to do that. You want them to feel like being your client is something special, like they're going to get something out of it, and they do. I guess it's not really, I don't know, I guess I was confusing how I said that, but I think the goal of a buyer presentation is to obviously walk people through the process, but it's also setting you up for success because you're bringing them in and they're a client. They're not just, and that was what we were talking about in the meeting last week, is like, if you feel like you're just going to answer the phone, go open a sign, and then open a door, open a sign, open a door, and then, write a contract. I mean, if that's the mentality you have, I think it's pretty easy for you to feel like I'm not bringing much value, and you could be worried about being kind of cut out and all this stuff with a lawsuit and stuff. But I've never really, my mentality has always been like, I know that I'm going to go do stuff for my clients that I don't feel like anybody else can do as good as me. So, I don't ever have any doubts in what my worth is. And I think like setting up a buyer presentation and knowing how to do that's super important, because you can kind of, you want them to feel like it's something special, that they're your client and that you're going to provide some value to you. And that's what the presentation's about. So
absolutely. And a lot of times, guys, the main thing is they have a job. They have their day-to-day, they have their household they're taking care of. They might have kids or whatever that they're taking care of. They've got what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. They are about to buy or invest or sell something that most people generally only do like every 8 to 10 years. This is a big deal to them. It's stressful to them. They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to accidentally waste money. There's horror stories that are out there. They are looking to you for guidance, security. Like, I want to make sure that we do this right and that we don't like risk my money on the table. And they want to make sure that they find something that feels good, and they need your help. They need your time, your expertise. They need you reaching out to other agents, to make sure that you're finding on and off market deals. They need your guidance on how to write the contract to protect them. These are the things that we are doing it and talking about it. And we're holding morning calls and we're holding team meetings and doing all this shit. They don't do any of this. They're doing a job somewhere else. That they're the master of their domain in that place, So AJ worked on diesel trucks, and then he started in real estate, and people said, oh, that must be great because You've probably been hearing this from Brittany all along. Like, no, he was focused on diesel trucks. He was the master of diesel trucks. Now he's having to learn real estate. So I want to make sure that you guys know the information that we are giving you on a daily and weekly basis already makes you more of an expert. Our list of coming soon listings or would sell listings already gives you more ammunition than any other realtor out there. Our buyer consult, our technology, our everything that we offer is giving you more resources than anybody else has, not being a real estate agent or being a real estate agent and being off our team. So with that being said, I'm going to show you guys where to find the buyer consult. But before we do that, actually, how would you invite me to go and meet you at the office? Let's say I pick up the phone, I'm calling, name one of your listings right now.
118 Walker's Way.
Okay, so I call on it. Ring, ring, ring.
Hello, this is AJ.
Hey, I'm calling about this house over on Walker's Way. That it's like a brick house, I think, and it seems really pretty. And I was curious if I could go and see it sometime this week.
Sure, yeah, we've actually been getting a lot of phone calls about that one. Is that the area you want to be in? Banks County, particular, Commerce, kind of what brings you to this listing?
Well, we actually drove by it and I thought it was really pretty. We've been thinking about buying, but we're not really sure yet what we're going to do or where we're going to be.
Got it. This one's listed at 385. Is that kind of the price range you think your guys are wanting to be in?
I mean, I think so, but I have no idea what the payment would be, but I think it should be right in the ballpark.
Understood. So what has you looking in this area? You're upsizing, downsizing?
We've actually never bought a house before. So we're living with my parents. We moved to the area a little while ago and we've been living with them for a while to get our feet on the ground. And it's getting close to time that we find a place of our own.
Awesome. Cool. I'd love to help. Have you guys been talking to any realtors yet? Or you just kind of were driving around and this spurred it up all of a sudden, or?
No, we haven't talked to anybody else. Honestly, this is the first call that we've made on a house at all.
Perfect. What about lending? Have you guys reached out to any lenders? You get pre-approved? Do you know like what the mortgage industry looks like right now?
Not a clue. Like the last time I applied for a mortgage was like 2 years ago. We never ended up biting the bullet back then. So I honestly, I don't know what's going on at all right now.
Perfect. Well, I can definitely help. It sounds like you really need some guidance. Sounds like we need to sort of go over where the market is today. I mean, if you've paid any attention in the last couple of years, the market's been crazy. Stuff is going for multiple offers. We still have some of that. We have some price ranges that there's more inventory out there. And, we've had good success over the last couple of years finding off-market deals for people. So like if this one didn't work out, we could find you something similar that maybe is not on the market. And so the best way we normally can do that is like, why don't we get together here at our office for about 30 minutes, sort of go over the market, go over this particular house. We'll go see this house right after the meeting. But I normally like meeting with buyers because you really have to strategize these days. It's not, you go out, you pick your house, everything's simple, and we just sign a contract. Like we need some strategy in this market. And so I think the best thing we could do is get together and meet. I'm not sure what your schedule is like this evening, but I've got some time this evening around 5:30, tomorrow around 5:30, or, if you want to meet during the day, we can do that also. What do you think?
Well, I'm off today. So, I mean, that 5:30 could work today for sure. Where's your office at though?
Downtown Commerce.
Oh, okay. So it's pretty close.
Is your husband available also?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
Perfect.
I can double check.
Well, how about we get together today at 5:30? I have, we got lots of great resources, whether it's lenders, inspectors. I think the best thing to do is let's get together and we can kind of go over the whole process. So how about today at 5:30?
That'll work.
Awesome. I'll see you then. Our address, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Awesome. So, what if I had said, you gave such a great presentation for why we should meet. It was hard for me to want to overcome it because you did such a good job with that. But what if I had tried to say, I'm not really interested in like meeting per se right now. I really am just trying to figure out if the house works for me or not.
I'm more than happy to meet you over at the house. I mean, we can meet over there and just sort of talk about that particular property. I guess it depends on what.
Just handle it how you would if I brought that
Well,
up.
when
on the
did you
phone.
say that? Because if I hadn't got to
You
mortgage
asked me
yet,
for
I
the,
would.
yeah, you asked me about for the appointment early on and I just come back and say, I mean, I'm not really looking to like hire a realtor or anything. I really just wanted to see this house and that's why I called the listing agent.
Okay, I understand. Well, I'm definitely more than happy to show you the house. I don't know. I don't have a good script for that, I
Okay.
guess.
Is anybody on that has one?
From the listing agent, I'm gonna go show them the house
Okay.
because I'm not, I don't know.
What if you got it and you weren't the listing agent?
I got a script for that I could share.
Okay, Melody, say it's the same listing, but you get the phone call and I say that I was trying to call the listing agent, but of course you're not the listing agent. What would you say?
Well, honestly, I really don't want to take you inside of a house immediately without sitting down and talking about the issues with it, because I don't want to be, I'm stuttering now. Shit. No, I mean, it's not always the best idea to jump and run and look at the first house that you like. I'm not in the business of popping people's bubbles. I really like to set my clients up for success. So it's best that we meet and we discuss our options, because I would hate to take you into this house. Then you fall in love with it. It's the one you want it. Let's go for it, Melody. And then you find out that your payment's going to be $5,500 a month and you can't afford it. You're disappointed and you're looking at me saying that I've made you feel that way. So I like to set my clients up to be as successful as possible so that when we do find the right house, we know we can buy it.
Awesome. Good job. So grab a pen and paper, guys. And if you know the answer to this, feel free to answer and unmute. What is an objection?
A reason somebody doesn't want to do something.
Is it? He's trying to cheat. He's looking at my notes for the call.
It's an excuse.
Okay.
It's an obstacle.
Okay.
Maybe they're just like uncertain.
Okay. Brittany's belief is an objection is their way of saying, I want to hire you, but. So I believe that an objection is a positive thing. I have a recruit right now who gave me a slew of objections. And then she felt the need to apologize to me and say, I'm sorry, I'm just this, that, and the other. I said, I completely understand. Those who take time to really make big decisions and they ask this many questions and bring this many things up, that means that they have great discernment. Right? You're thinking through the decision that you're about to make. So I completely understand that you have some questions, concerns, and some things you're holding back on, right? So, I want to find the house before I run my credit. I'm going to find the house first and then list mine. I've never been told I need to meet first before seeing the property. You're the first person that has said that I need to sign something before I go and look at the house. All of these things that can come up are objections. They're saying, I want to work with you, but, and then they say that.
Yeah, I think me being the listing agent threw me on that script.
Sure.
Because if somebody calls me to go see a property that's not in my listing, I'm going to dig into if they can get the money. You got a house you got to sell. Have you already been pre-approved? Because I'm pretty busy with clients these days. So I guess it's fortunate. It's a blessing for me, but I'm going to make sure they've got some way to pay for it, for I'm going to get out of the house. And I'm not afraid to say that these days. So I do protect myself there. If it's my listing, like Saturday, I went and showed one of Jared's, and them people had an agent. It's just their agent wasn't around to open the door, and I feel like it'd be stupid for me
Not to.
not to go let them in just because their agent can't do it. But
Right.
you know, if I've got a buyer, I'm, you know, tell them, hey, I've got a lot of clients, and so to protect my time, make sure I can take care of my clients, I want to make sure that I'm dealing with people that have the means to purchase a property and are prepared to do what it's going to take to win one in today's market. That would be what I would say.
That was a really good script. Have the means to buy something in this market and are prepared to do what it takes
yes,
to win one in this market. Man, those were some good words, you guys. If you didn't write those down, you should.
And I'm fine meeting somebody at the property, but I'm going to dig into that on the front end, you know, and make sure I understand their situation. And then when we get to the property, I'm going to try to, you know, be on my best, or put my best face on, show that property really well, dig into it really well. And then my goal would be to have an appointment after that property.
So
Kristen wants me to repeat that. I don't remember because it was just
when it
rattling
flies
off my
out,
head. But I was like, I have a lot of clients that I'm working with, and I want to protect my time. So I'm making sure any client that I deal with currently has the means to buy a property and is willing to do what it takes to win a property in today's market.
Really good, strong words.
Because it's not that simple. All y'all know that. It's not as simple as going and meeting somebody and writing up an offer, because sometimes they're going to make stupid offers. Sometimes they're going to want to offer $60,000 under asking on a new listing. And, you know, I'd rather know that before I go out there than go out there and find that out. So I will do some digging in on the phone call.
So something that I caution AJ on often is making sure you don't create objections where they don't exist. That's the other thing you guys have to be careful of, is sometimes you guys will talk so much that you'll create an objection where you are nervous, not where they are nervous. So AJ did a good job, and he was this close to talking too much in setting an appointment with me. I'm a high D though, so you can easily talk too much with me, like in any conversation, right? But what I want you to understand is when somebody gives you an objection, the first thing that you want to do is acknowledge them. I completely understand. Then you need to make sure that you understand why they're saying it.
Like Brittany said, she's a high D. So if that person wants to see that house because they got to get on and do a bunch of other stuff, and you just keep pushing that meeting, you're not going to get anywhere with them. But if it's, you know, we got to strategize, or, you know, especially if you got any inside info on a listing, like sometimes people will call about something and you know that it's got a lot of showings on it or something, you can push that really hard into why we need to meet, because they need to figure out, you know, are you willing to go over asking?
But if you're handling all of that stuff and that's not my objection, why? Then you're just arguing with a brick wall. And I'm listening to this and going, this guy's not listening to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you acknowledge, sometimes I hear that people would rather see the house before they make any decisions. Can I ask you, AJ, what's your motivation behind that? What are you trying to accomplish?
Seeing the house before. I just want to tell if we like it or not, because I mean, we've got some, you know, we hadn't talked to the lenders yet. We kind of just saw this house, and we were, you know, if we like it, we're willing to do what it takes to kind of make the next step forward. But if it's not one we're in love with, we might wait a little bit.
I gotcha. Can I share with you why that strategy fails some of our buyers?
Sure.
See, I asked for permission to even overcome his objection. May I share with you why that process, or that thought process, sometimes fails some of our buyers? And he says, sure. Now he has to listen to me. He said, yes. You see, AJ, in this market, it depends on the house, but sometimes the one you fall in love with, a bunch of other people fall in love with it too. Whether it's this one or the next one is irrelevant to me, because I want to see you win the house of your dreams, whether that's now or 6 months from now. In order to set you up for success, I have found that tried and true, the best way to do that is for you and I to sit down, go over the market, come up with our plan, and then go look at the homes from there. That way you're fully equipped, you're ready to go, and you're ready to do whatever it takes Whether this house is that house or not, I'd like to have you set up for success when it is the house. So let's meet before the house at this time at my office, and we can go straight there from that appointment. And then we can decide what your strategy is from there. Fair enough?
Sure.
Awesome. Now, acknowledge, make sure you have understanding, ask for permission to move forward. Then I call it stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. Stage 1 is the what's in it for you. I share a small story. I did that just now with him, and then I close again. If he pushes back, that means I didn't handle the objection well enough. I'm going to be a little bit more persistent the second time around. Maybe banter back just a little bit back and forth, but stage 3, I'm going to do a takeaway close and say, listen, I get it that you have a way that you want to do it yourself. I have found that that's not the best way to work with my clients and set them up for success. So I think it's probably best that you schedule with another agent. Like, truly take away the appointment, take away the ability to show it. Okay. And there's multiple ways to do that, but that's the overview. Now we'll go into more objection handling and things like that, but I want to take you guys through this buyer presentation some. First and foremost, you, I hate saying should, but you should know how to get into our place. If you don't, get into it today. Make sure you log in, right? There's a whole video here. There's videos from Ben and Chris and your onboarding stuff that we can share with you. There's, videos of people doing this presentation, etc. You should know the presentation in and out, not because you have it memorized, but because you need to have it memorized and know where the resources are, but you're not going to regurgitate it to your client. You're not going to go, okay, AJ, now that I'm sitting down with you, let me read this from start to finish like you're a kindergartner and I'm reading you a book. We're not doing that. You need to know the guide because you're going to be listening to the client in front of you, and you're going to pull pieces of the guide that matter to them because you listen with 2 ears and you talk with 1 mouth, right? We've got printed guides here in the office, and you have the downloadable slides right here. I'm going to open up the presentation version because let's say I'm doing this virtually or I have my laptop up, and I'm going to do a slideshow, assuming everybody can see this. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is I'm going to dig in with my client and ask them questions. The vast majority of, like, I would say the first 15 to 20 minutes of your consult should be about them and you asking questions and you're writing their answers down. So it's about their needs, their dreams, their questions. I don't have to say that. I'm going to move. Where is it? So I'll probably stop here because I thought it had a little plug-in screen, but it doesn't. And I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to go, okay, all right. You say you're buying a house. It's your first house. Is this like a forever house for you? Are you thinking about it maybe becoming an investment one day? Like, talk to me about what your goals are with this house. You don't have to answer. Ultimately, who's going to live there with you? Right? What do you plan on doing there? What's important to you about the area? What's important to you about the finances? What's important to you about the house itself? Some people want turnkey. I want to be able to walk in and not have any issues and I want less stress. And then some people go, man, I really want to walk in pantry, and some people say, I would rather get a really great price and put in some elbow grease over the years, and build some of my own sweat equity, right? Some people say, I have very little money down, or I need to preserve the money that I have down. And then some people go, no, I want to put as much money down to get my payment as low as possible. Everybody's different. So My job during this is to be spending time with them, asking questions about what they want out of their finances, out of the house, out of their life. How do they see themselves using this house? What do they think about the neighborhood? You know, you've got some people who want to know that their kids can jump on their bike and ride down through the neighborhood with their friends and they can feel safe and secure. And then you have some people who go, I don't want anybody to be able to hear me if I scream, and I don't want anybody to know that I'm peeing off my back porch. These are things that I've heard in buyer consults because we are in the South. So this is the shit that I've heard, right? And so you get all kinds of stuff, and your job is to ask a ton of questions and write down everything that's important to them. I will never forget the lady who did not build our house because I said, I want a house that's beautiful and functional. And she said, well, I think you're really going to have to pick one or the other. You're not fucking listening to me, then I'm out. If you're not listening to me, why would I pay you to build my house, kind of thing, right? So are you listening and asking questions? Now, their timeline, right? Making sure you understand what's their timeline. Is it realistic? Are they doing the things that they need to do to be real, to get to their goals, right? And then I want you talking to them about their wealth. So if you're not comfortable talking about how real estate builds wealth, it's time to start reading up yourself and listening to the podcast so that you understand how real estate develops wealth. And one of the best ways, I wish we had done it, is to buy a house with like an FHA or a 3% down conventional loan and a low interest rate and owner occupancy, and buy that home with the goal of renting it out one day. And then when you rent that one out, you go and buy the next one. Because if you learn how to teach people that they can become a net millionaire by simply buying a home every 2 years for the next 10 years, it is exponentially, it's so much more easy for them to build wealth with low down payments. Like the average person is not saving up 20% down payments to go buy an investment home. And so if you learn to teach them to think of this home, this first home, like an investment, you could be the reason that they are a millionaire in 10 years. You think that breeds loyalty? If you're the one that gave them that information, absolutely. I think I have a question.
That goes a long way too, because I met with a client the other day that Brian's looking at building a house for, and that guy said, or he was just talking about his current house, and he was like, I think I might just rent it. And I was like, well, yeah, that's smart. I would too. And he was like, oh, awesome, thank you. And he was like surprised that I was cool with him renting it. You know, like I think, I don't know if that was, you know, just him thinking that I was going to be after listing it or selling it or something. But, you know, I think people aren't used to realtors touching on the wealth aspect. I mean, I think the best ones do, because I think all the really good agents I see in the area talk about wealth creation and stuff. But I think that's, you know, what I've learned is the best way to really get clients that stay with you. They feel like you're looking out for their best interest. So, you know, hitting on your wealth there and knowing that stuff. And like Brittany said, really teaching them a way to grow their wealth. I mean, that's going to mean a lot to them. You're not just trying to get a commission out of it. You know, you're guiding them on growing their wealth over their life.
And if you choose to do this career as long as I have or longer, then it's important that you've been, you know, an integral role in their life where you've helped them make smart decisions. So, all right. So let's say we've spent a good 15, 20 minutes on this. I've challenged their thinking with some of their wealth development and thinking about how they plan on treating this home or their next home, et cetera. And we're moving on. I feel like I have a really good grasp on what they want. And if I don't, then I'm sending them home with homework to think about it. So if it's a couple and they're not clear, they might go home with homework. Listen, one of the things that I heard in this meeting is that the two of you are not quite in alignment on blank. One of you wants a neighborhood and one of you wants privacy. That's something that I can't make both of those two things happen. So what I need you guys to do is to go home and figure out where you can compromise on that. Fair enough, right? So you could do this in the buyer consult rather than acting like you're a therapist for the rest of the time you're working with them.
And it'll make your life easier too with buyers if you can get them to come up with like 5 must-haves or something, you know, and then you know, if they've got 20 must-haves, you're never going to find that one thing. So always, if I'm working a buyer, I'll kind of get them to, like Brittany said, after the meeting, well, if they've got their 5 like gotta haves at that meeting, I'm writing that down, and that's going to help me find houses for them to look at. But if they don't, that's a good project to send them back to, is like, come back with, 5 things you've got to have, and that'll help me in our search.
All right. How many of you, if I click the right button, know how to get to this screen on your phone?
I do.
Go ahead and throw it in the comments. Okay. How many of you do not know how to fill out this page confidently with a client? All right. So here's the really cool thing. I'll teach you guys a trick. Go ahead and download the Place Mortgage Calculator app. I'm gonna unshare my screen real quick so that you can see my cell phone a little bit larger. This is what you see when you log in. You've got the get started page. I want to buy a house. I want to refinance. I want to refer someone. If I click on the calculator button right here, I have a mortgage calculator. I have an affordability calculator, and I have the value of home ownership calculator. You guys see that? All right. Calculate the value for value of home ownership and get started. You can literally download this with your client and walk them through it on their phone, and then take a screenshot. You do not have to fill it out in the booklet. You can, or you just take a screenshot and then show them how they could get back to it. When you show them that you've got the tools, now they can go back and figure it out, right? All right. So if I'm going to buy a house with 300,000 is my purchase price, and let's say I'm going to do 3% down, 30 years. I saw interest rates at 6%. So I'm going to plug in 6 there. Average appreciation, I'm going to say 2 just to be safe. Single filing status, and my annual income is between 40 and 85,000. So I've changed, it's $300,000 purchase price, a 3% down payment, 30-year loan, 6% interest, average appreciation of 2%, and let's say I'm single.
What tax rate there? How do you know what goes there?
It's automatically plugging it in
Okay.
based on
The
that
average
tax
income.
bracket.
Okay.
So if they know their tax bracket, which most people don't, they could plug it in. I'm going to hit view results. And first thing it's going to tell me is in 1 year, I'm going to experience approximately $6,000 in appreciation. If I hit next, then in principal reduction, I'm going to experience $3,574. By the way, it collects all of this data for you at the end. It's just showing it to you one screen at a time. Hit next again. It shows me my tax savings. Hit next again. And my estimated value of home ownership in the first year is $13,393. This is what you can send a screenshot, take a screenshot of right here. You don't have to be the master of how to pull these numbers. You just have to have the app.
That's awesome stuff too.
Did we make that easier for you guys? Is anybody lacking clarity on how to find it? Please go in the chat. Okay.
That's good stuff too, because I know everybody's like, oh yeah, there's tax savings if you buy a house. But if you ask me today what those tax savings would be, I'd be like,
I don't know.
some.
AJ hasn't done our taxes in the entirety of us being married together. So let me just tell you how much he knows about our taxes. This much. Look at that. Kat says, I got one of my buyers like that. They weren't excited and asked where was the wealth of buying until they saw the numbers. And it made sense. Closed them in October and I've had them since April. Very good job. Very good job. A lot of times we're just teaching them what's valuable. Thank you for sharing that, Kat, because those success stories really mean something to me. And I think it's our mission to deliver the value of home ownership, right? That's what we say our mission and vision is. If you don't understand it, how can they, right? Let's take a moment and make sure that we're understanding it first. I'm going to share my screen again and go back. So you show them where to find that in the app. You do not have to write in the booklet. You can show them in the app. That way they've got the app and they can do calculations, right? And they can play with it. Excuse me, I had to burp. Now, what I want to cover with you is the buying process so that I'm setting you up for success. So from getting started, from the offer to the closing to the point where we're really successful. You may have touched on some of this at the very beginning. If you haven't, this is a good chance to really get back in and go, what are the major five must-haves that you have to have? Or what is it that you need out of this house or property? And this can be a home buyer, an investment buyer. This could be a commercial buyer. Like you can take this and translate it to anybody. Now, the calculator only works for residential, but commercial, they have even more tax savings. And then investments, they have other tax savings. So trust me, if they're investing, they're already aware of all of that too.
And I mean, which it was a different buyer presentation, but when I started, you had one that you had created and I still had the slides for it. And I've actually gone in and edited that before to match commercial. And this one you could do very similar, ask us if you ever have a scenario like that, ask us and we could figure out a way to kind of work that out, but you can kind of, make some edits to this and that spin it more in an investor or commercial realm, just using this footprint or this
absolutely
layout. Yeah.
So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to secure financing. Securing financing essentially makes you look like a cash buyer. So we want to make sure that we know exactly what type of loan you're getting and do as much of the work on the front end as possible so that the sellers, when they review your offers, you look like a solid deal, right? That's the main thing is you might be competing against cash. We want to make sure if you're getting financing that you're as solid as cash. So we're going to look at, the different loan programs that are available to you, down payments, terms, rates, et cetera, and get your pre-approval amount and the type of loan. You're going to do this with one of our lenders that we've given to you. We've got a couple of different ones that we can send you to. And if you're curious, I do have a way for you to save a couple $1,000s on your closing costs by working with one of our in-house lenders. So let me know if you're interested. And the way that they do that is they don't charge origination fees, lender fees, underwriting, all that good stuff. And they've got some pretty competitive rates. So let me know if you'd like me. So see how I'm teasing them? I'm like, oh my God, they have such really wonderful things. And just let me know if you're interested in, saving that kind of money. Once we've got you pre-approved, the next step is we're finding you the house. The important thing to know is that we're exploring every avenue. Like once you hire me, we are looking at everything that's on the MLS, off the MLS. If I need to go hunting for homes, like sending out mailers to people that are not currently listed, I have a list of people inside of our team that would sell but are not on the market. We've got new construction, potential pre-foreclosures and foreclosures. You've got for sale by owners. Literally, the sky's the limit. There's a lot of opportunity out there. The best thing that you can do is talk to me on a weekly basis and give me feedback on what you're seeing, because that's how we'll determine whether I need to go and find something that's off market or wait for something that pops on the market. Go over with you a little bit about what's going on in the market and what you can expect. I would suggest before your appointment that you've pulled this and you have it available to you. So
You might
here,
have to, I was just gonna say, you might have to edit that also to their price point, because
Mhm.
depending on where their price point is right now, that's gonna look a lot different. Like if you got a buyer right now, $450,000 in Jackson County, there's probably a good bit of inventory, but if it's a first time home buyer, it's, 225 or under, there's not going to be as many. And that's going to be two different stories of what they need to think about. If they're 225, then I'm going to start talking about the success stories that our team has of us doing deals within the team of these cheaper homes, or like finding a flip home and, letting the investor flip it for one of our buyers. Like these success stories and stuff just makes it easier for you to secure a client, because unless you're a client, I'm not going and putting an off-market deal together with somebody on our team because I don't know about you. You're just a sign call. But once you become my client, I'm sending letters for you and everything. So like throwing
you can
those
say that directly, guys. You can say those words to people and say, listen, if I'm going to get up every day and I'm going to hand write and hand sign and hand address 500 letters for somebody, I like to make sure that it's somebody who's agreed to work with me and make sure that I get paid at the end of the day as well. Like you can say these words. It's not too direct. It's just business. It logically makes sense. My attorney is not going to consult with me on a job that I'm letting another attorney go to court for me for. Right? They're not going to do it. And if you make sure that you're bringing value, like the off-market deals and the scrubbing stuff and talking to realtors and making sure that you're going out and finding a listing when it doesn't exist, or navigating deals in a way that they could expect. Like if they are in the 450 range and there's plenty of homes on the market, the next step is knowing what's negotiable and what's not. Right. And making sure that they know, like, my job here is to protect your money, not only get you the right house, but protect your investment. And so I'm going to be helping you make sure that you get a property inspection, that we negotiate aggressively, that we get you closing costs or rate buy downs and things like that are important to them. But you don't cover all of this with every single client. You have hopefully listened at the very beginning, and you have written down the bullet points that are important to them, and you bring those things to their attention. Or if they haven't brought it to their attention, say they're in the 220 price range and it should be an objection of theirs that there's not a lot on the market, you bring it up.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is like if you're in 450, you're talking about what you can get from the seller, but like a lot of times your 225 buyer, that's a challenge, is they need the closing costs. So then then you're strategizing and theorizing on, hey, you're in a tough, like very hot market of 225 and below, and you need closing costs. That's further going to guide me to have them look for certain scenarios, look for something that's been on the market for a while, or be prepared that when it pops on the market at 225, but you need 10 in closing costs, we better make sure it'll appraise for 235 because you're not getting it for a dime. That's the time that you know what you're dealing with. That's what this whole thing's about. Then when you go find them something, you can tell, like, hey, it's got multiple offers 10 over and they're not asking for closing costs. Only way we're going to beat it is go 20 over to get your 10 in closing. And you already have that stuff prepared,
And when you go over it at the beginning, you end up establishing trust. And if you go over this when you're writing the offer, you're disintegrating their trust. They think you're just putting a deal together because you're hungry for the commission. I hate to say it, guys, but that is what happens. If you wait to cover this information with them until you're in the offer writing phase, you've already broken the relationship, and it's on you. It's not on them.
If you don't tell them, they might have to go 15, 20,000 over at the meeting, even though they've been hearing from the news that the real estate market's not good the last 6-7 months. I've had people say that to me recently, is the market good right now? I haven't heard it's good. So like if you're trying to get them to go way over and they've been, you got to set all this stuff up on the front end. And that's what all this is about. Because once you've laid that groundwork, it's going to be a lot easier to say, hey, this is one of those I talked to you about. Yeah, it's great. It's priced cheap, but
we better go.
Yeah, we better go, and we're going to have to go over and all the things that I told you on the front end. It just makes you look that much better too.
And it's on you. This buyer consult is on you. And I recently heard that somebody went on an appointment with their sphere of influence, and they winged it a little bit. If it's your sphere of influence, it's somebody you know and love, your family or anything like that, I say go above and beyond with the presentation. And I say that because I've lost them myself.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it because I'm high and mighty and I always do it perfect. I'm saying it because I've lost clients that I love and care about deeply to somebody else because I treated them like friends instead of clients. I like to walk them through why there's the value of working with a team. One of my favorite lines to say is, the cool thing is, for the same price of hiring one realtor, you actually hire 20 and a staff. And so you get the benefit of working with all of us. It's not just one agent's coming soon listings, it's 20 agents coming soon listings. It's not just the people I know, it's the people all of us know. And that's the beauty of it. And we are not just a conglomeration of real estate agents. We truly are a team. We're talking daily. We put all this information together. We're working together to make things happen. So you're going to hear from multiple of us, especially once you go under contract. And I just want you to know we do that so that we can give you the absolute best service possible. I highly suggest you read this page and you take it very seriously. Absolutely no changes to your credit once you've gotten pre-approved. If it requires you to put your birth date and your social security number down, you need to ask your lender before hitting submit. Okay. Nothing. Do not buy anything. Do not change anything. Do not change your job. Do not any of it. Just read through these. This is like the 10 commandments of buying a house. Don't change this stuff. Okay. And just quickly to walk you through the process, we make an offer. It doesn't go under contract until we've negotiated the terms. We come to an agreement with the seller. Once the offer is accepted, you will begin your loan process. We will tell you, we'll be celebrating. Woohoo, we're under contract. What's the next steps? And I'll be getting the lender involved. Then you're going to go through the loan process. That's going to feel like a lot of hurry up and wait. Get all this paperwork together. Hurry, 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 hurry. And then you're going to sit and let the lender process it. We're also going to do our inspection up front. I'll guide you through that. The lender is going to order the appraisal for you. And then all while that's happening, the lender and the closing attorney will be reviewing title information and getting everything ready for the closing. Then we will sign and have like our true closing. That's number 7. And then after that, the closing attorney will record all of the information. Now it looks simple because we've broken it down into 8 steps like this, but there's a lot of moving parts, and that's what I'm here to support you through.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if they're first, I've done tons of buyer presentations to first-time home buyers, and the only thing I would add to this is I would talk about earnest money, talk about inspections. Let them know that earnest money is money they got to put up, and it gets deposited, and that whole process, and then inspections, how much money they cost, appraisals, how much money they cost, just because those are 3 like costs to people. And I've got people under contract before and they didn't realize, they thought the earnest money check got held. And so they didn't have the money in the account to actually cash it. Or then the inspection, the inspector goes out and does the report. And it was one of my friends. And he was like, you won't send me the report because I hadn't paid for the inspection. And I'm like, well, when do you think you're going to pay for the inspection? He's like, I don't get paid for a couple more days. And so I'm like, well, I didn't have that conversation with him and tell him how that worked. Appraisal too. I think now buyers pay for the appraisal before closing. Isn't that right?
Many of them do collect that appraisal fee.
So, I mean, that's $1,200. Well, earnest money might be a couple thousand, inspection, appraisal, that might be $3 or $4 grand that you need to make sure that people have. And so that's one thing I would add to this is talk about what earnest money is, inspections, appraisals, and how they're paid for and all that, just so people understand that. And it may be, oh no, that's.
I was hoping that it was on there. It's not. You're correct. So,
first-time home buyers can just get confused.
First-time home buyers,
that is.
I would add a note to make sure that on this page, you're talking about how much money they need to have.
Yeah, I guess that's the big thing.
Your earnest
how much
money
could you have to pay through this process?
Generally, it's going to be 1% of the sales price for earnest money. And yes, it gets deposited. It gets held in an escrow account by either the closing attorney or the or one of the real estate brokerages. And then you can go as low as say like $500 in earnest money. But again, if we're going into competitive offers, depends on the price point that they're talking about, the higher the earnest money, the more serious it shows that you are in the process. So be prepared that it's 1% of the sales price. Your appraisals, I think I've seen them up to 750, sometimes more, just depending on how special the property is and if there's a rush on it or anything like that. And then inspections, what are inspections running about right now? Does anybody have a most recent property inspection?
550 to 650, maybe somewhere in that range. Is that what y'all are seeing?
I'm gonna check chat. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So that's something we want to make sure.
And heading people up on, which I think we talked about that earlier, like things you might have to do to win a house. Maybe you touch on, hey, might to go over asking price. We might, we got inspectors we can recommend. So, if it's something really, really hot, we may have to do a 2 or 3 day inspection period, but I'm here for you. And we got people that'll do it in that timeline. I just try to get all those scenarios in their head, like Brittany was saying. That way, when they find the house and it's time to pull the trigger, there's not something weird there that you hadn't discussed with them. And they're like, oh, an appraisal or an inspection in 2 days. Like, I didn't think we could do that. And, you're just trying to make sure they got all that.
Yeah. And then I think that depends on the price point and what they're looking at. But it is important to go over. We do have some strategies up our sleeve that are a little bit more non-traditional that can help you win a deal. And, you can cover some of those up front. I'm writing it down to maybe create a cheat sheet for you guys. Cheat sheet for scenarios that we may want to cover pre-offer. And I've already forgotten the other thing. Oh, and the cost.
First time, or costs
associated. Because we can add those resources into your toolkit for us. Now, towards the end, closing is a lot of signing, right? You're going to bring your driver's license and another form of ID, and we're going to be reading a lot. The attorney is going to help support us through the entire thing. And I will be checking in with you the day before to make sure that you're clear on the closing disclosure, make sure you know how much money you need to bring and how to get it to the closing attorney. Little heads up, don't send any wires without confirming with me. There's a lot of wire fraud going on out there. Do you have any questions? This is where I would slow down and say, what questions do you have for me? Because I've been talking a lot at this point. We went from lots of questions at the beginning to me talking a lot. Now I'm going to slow down and ask them, what questions do you have for me? And they might go, I think I'm good. I'm ready to get started. Okay, great. Well, the next step, and I can pull this screen up. The next step is for you and I to agree to work together. So I've got a blank buyer brokerage agreement is what it's called. It's just like a listing agreement, but for buyers, where you're agreeing to hire me and I'm agreeing to work for you. Let me give this to you, and I'm going to slide it over and say, take a few minutes to review it. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm not creating objections by going over it line by line. I'm not doing it. I'm going to slide it over and then I'm going to separate it. Here's the pile and then here's the signature page. And when you're ready, you just sign right here. It's a two-way agreement. You are going to have some people that sign it without thinking. I'm ready to go. You've sold me. I'm good to go. Let's go look at this house. And you're going to have some people that go, I want to take this home with me and review it. What do we have here? Like that. I read too much. Yes, stop reading it, Tyra. You are very detail oriented. We've learned that a lot about you lately. When you are more detailed, no, AJ's first listing appointment with me, he was still talking to the client and I was having her sign documents while she was talking. They're talking over me. I'm like, dude, sign this, sign this, sign this. We walked down. He's like, you got everything signed? Yeah, you wouldn't shut up, but I got everything signed. We're good to go. This listing's good. The high C's right on the desk, those of you that are very detailed, or those of you that are just in general nervous. There's something that you're nervous about. You're putting it off and you are giving the client the same objection that you have. And it's not necessarily the client's objection. You're making more work for yourself. So if you are the kind of person that is trying to read over everything or handle objections before they come to you, you're creating more work for yourself. Handle the objection the client gives. How do we get an objection? How do we find out what's holding them back? What do we do? It's very simple.
Ask for the agreement pretty much, or you're asking for the signature.
Close for a
Yeah,
signature on
close.
something. If you close for an appointment or a signature on something, they will give you the objection. You can't get it though, unless you're closing. So if you're sitting there going, okay, I walked out and they didn't sign, and I don't know what's holding them up, and it's been a week and they still haven't gotten back to me, what do I already know that you didn't do with that appointment?
Close them.
Close them. You didn't ask for a signature. Who's that on? It's not on me, it's not on them, it's on you. Because ultimately, I'm not walking out of an appointment. If I know they're gonna be listing that house, I'm gonna do everything I can. And I'm gonna get to every objection to the point where they go, well, honestly, the reason we haven't signed with you is we like to sleep on things. I completely do as well, and I actually like to cover things privately. Sorry for the background noise, with my spouse in private. Now, can I ask you, is there anything that's on your minds that you guys wanted to cover that I might be able to answer for you? Like, are there any concerns that you planned on bringing up to each other that while you have me here, I can go ahead and answer for you? And let them go back and forth. Okay. So is there any reason that I've given you that it would not be a good idea to sign with me or list with me or buy with me today? Right? I'm gonna keep closing and keep closing. No, I think we're pretty close to it. We just like to sleep on things. Okay. Well, what about this? What if, since I already have the documents here and ready, what if we go ahead and fill everything out and sign it? But I make you the promise that if you call me back tomorrow and you say you changed your mind, I shred the papers. That way, if you call me back in the morning and say we're good to go, then I know we're good to go and I don't have to chase you back around and go send electronic signatures and all that other stuff, but I'm ready to get to work for you immediately tomorrow morning. Or I'm going to start closing. I do this in listing appointments too. Is there any reason I've given you not to list with me? Is anybody else giving you a better reason to list with them? I've covered so much. And they go, no, we just like to sleep on things. Great. What if we go ahead and sign the paperwork tonight, but if you call me and tell me you've changed your mind, I'll shred the documents. And I understand. But if you're leaning towards the decision you've already told me you're leaning towards, then by tomorrow morning, I'm ready to order photography. I'm ready to start telling people about your listing. I'm ready to get to work for you without any delay. I'm doing everything I can, guys, to close while I'm in that appointment. Statistically, your ability to close drops dramatically when you walk out the door without the agreement signed. It doesn't matter if it's buyer, seller, offers, anything.
I don't know why it's so hard to do that either.
What are you afraid they're going to say? Everybody's got a different fear.
I know, but I'm just saying it's, I experience it the same as everybody. It's like, when I think about it, it's stupid because would you not want to know? I mean, would you not just want to know if the answer's no there rather than have to wait a couple of days? Like if, why we're professional, it's what we do to make a living. Like, why is it so hard for us somebody made time to come sit down with you for 30 minutes, like they're teed up and ready, why would you not just want to get the answer that day? But I trust me, I battle myself about it. It's just stupid when you think back and just think about it.
How many
of you, natural.
How many of you are afraid you'd sound pushy?
I do, for sure.
All right. So AJ, with risk of sounding pushy, is there anything that I could do tonight that would give you the confidence to go ahead and hire me and sign the agreement today? Is there anything holding you back?
Not really.
Okay. So what if we went ahead and signed the agreement tonight, and then in the morning, if you have a change of heart, I promise you that I'll shred the paperwork and let you move on.
Yeah, that works.
That works. You know, I
I feel
hate,
like in a real
hang on.
conver-
I like to add, I hate sounding pushy like that. However, you've hired me to be a bulldog for you and go find the right property for you. And so the last thing I want is to leave an opportunity on the table because I was afraid to ask. And that is what you were hiring me to do, right? Is to be a bulldog on behalf of you and your investment goals or your purchase goals or your selling your house goals or whatever it is. So I take my odd behavior that I don't want to have to be that and I sell it to them on this, the advantage of hiring me.
all I was gonna say was right there would probably be the time that I would say what the reason was, or I wanted to be like, I got to give her a reason right now why I wouldn't, because I was going to be like, you know, we just got to decide if we're going to do this or not, you know. And that would be I guess that would be the reason that would come up, is like maybe they're on the fence about doing it at all, and that's why they don't want to sign this BVA. But then when you say, hey, it's something we can tear up, maybe that overcomes it, you know.
Yeah. And I'm not here to make you do something you don't want to do. I just really want you, if you are going to do it, I want you to hire me. But I can't make you do something. I don't want to make you do something you don't want to do. So, all right, guys. I'm going to stop the recording.